Now, let me tell you a little bit about our speaker today. Tim Baker is a lifelong photojournalist at publications big and small. He's traveled to more than 100 countries. In fact, he jokes that while he knows people who have been to more countries, no one's been to more continents because we're all tied at seven, right? Tim has been director of photography at Stars and Stripes, based in Germany. That's where we met 25 years ago. He's been a supervising national photo editor of the Associated Press. He's been a picture editor at the New York Times. In between, he's worked as an expedition photographer for Greenpeace. He developed New Zealand's first university level photojournalism program. He was a lecturer there. Then he got stuck with me and our kids in New York City, and since then he's been the gym coach at our local preschool and taking care of our kids as they were growing up. But he says he'll never really retire from photography. He still loves photographing local sporting events, especially for many of the kids I know, and of course, photos you'll find all over WendyPerrin.com. Anyway, for the past week, you've been sending in your photo and camera questions, and we've been collecting them. Tim put together the presentation you're going to see based specifically on your questions. He has strived to answer them all. So I'm going to disappear in a minute, and Tim is going to take over in my chair. But before I go, I want to introduce you to our executive editor at WendyPerrin.com, Brooke Wilkinson. Brooke is in Northern California. Many of you know her because she helps answer your many travel questions. When you write to questions at WendyPerrin.com, when you're trying to find the right trip planner for a trip you have in mind, she's connecting dozens of people every day with the right people for them. Brooke has traveled to more than 50 countries. She and I have known each other a very long time. We used to work together at Condé Nast Traveler magazine. So Brooke, take it away.
Thanks, Wendy, and hello, everyone. I think a lot of you joining us today have been at some of our past Wow Week travel talks this week, but if not, thanks for joining us, and I'll just give you a brief explanation of what we do. WendyPerrin.com is a website for travelers. We vet trip planners using traveler feedback to name the very best of those planners to our Wow list of trusted travel experts. You can find the WOW list on our website. And we also offer, as Wendy said, personalized trip recommendations. Every day we're emailing with travelers, and you can get that by going to Ask Wendy on our website as well. So thanks again for joining us. And now we've got Tim on our screen. I've known Tim as long as I've known Wendy, which is coming up on 25 years now. I've traveled with him and he's taught me a ton about photography over the years. He's also one of the friendliest people you'll ever meet, which I think is one of his
Uh,
secrets to getting such wonderful portraits of local people around the world, as you'll see in the next hour. So Tim, a couple questions for you. How did you first get
sure.
into photography?
Oh, Brooke. Well, thank you for the introduction. I'll try to be my friendliest best for this. I got interested when we moved from San Jose to suburban Sonoma County, and we moved to a farm, and we had animals and everything. And I would, at age 10, I would run around and take pictures of all the animals, just kind of to make a record of it. Then, when I was 12, my mom gave me one of these develop it yourself at home kits. And watching my first picture come up through the soup, I was hooked.
Mhm. And I hear something about you selling a cow to buy a camera.
True story, true story. Yes, I sold my cow to buy my first camera when I was about 15. So that's a very true story. That's a real Petaluma story from Sonoma County. If you're familiar with Petaluma, that's the way it was.
Yeah, wow. Well, Tim, so you've got a presentation for us. I see one of your fabulous photos already up on the screen.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, this is, I hope the technology all works. And are you ready? We'll jump right into it.
Great, please.
Okay. First of all, let me go back up a little bit and say that this is not my portfolio. These pictures were picked. I've got millions and millions of pictures. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it was millions. I've got hard drives stacked to the ceiling of pictures. Why? I don't know. It's probably they'll probably be put in the dumpster when I die. But other than that, I tried to glean a few pictures out here that will help us explain some of your questions. And it's really kind of hard on me. I'm used to speaking in front of groups, but speaking in front of a little bitty TV camera is a little harder. And the other thing is that we have such a wide variety of levels in equipment and in knowledge bases. That I'll try to touch on. I think there'll be something for everybody. I wanted to include even people that know what their cameras are capable of and have like a SLR or something like that. And from the simplest phones on up. So bear with me here. And I think hopefully you'll get something out of it by the end of the hour. Um, the first thing I want to talk about is commitment and equipment. You should figure out what is your level of commitment to the photos you're going to take. Many of you are going on safari, but the question is, what am I going to do with these pictures? You want to make, I personally, I want pictures that are 24 by 36 inches and are crystal clear. Some people want to put them on canvas. Some people want to just put them in a digital album. Some people want to do his book. So figure out where you stand with that, and that'll help you guide you with what kind of equipment you might want to get. Now, and the reverse is sometimes you have all the equipment and you might not have a commitment. Just because you're packing all this stuff around doesn't mean you're committed to the art. So let's find a camera or the best camera that you have is the one with you. That's an old saw from photography. The best camera is the one you have with you. So it doesn't matter what the latest, greatest model is. You're there in the field. You've got the camera. Make the best of it. There's also one that famous photographer named Ouija from the 30s and 40s uh, made up. F8 and be there. What it means is that technically don't worry about it, but you have to be at the scene, and that's the most important thing. So commitment and equipment. Here's Wendy's equipment. Here's her phone. Now that's doesn't mean that she doesn't have a commitment. She does. She's a very good photographer, actually. She does a very good job. But one thing I will strongly suggest, every time I see this picture, I think if somebody would have bumped her and that phone would have fallen off the gondola here on the balloon ride in Oman, I would swear I was going to jump out after it because I don't want to be around her when she doesn't have her phone, which is her life. So I would like to strongly, strongly, in the most strenuous terms I can think of, is get one of these, please. Everybody that uses your cell phone. You can be as sure-handed as you want, but that doesn't mean that somebody's going to get excited in that gondola and accidentally bump you while they're trying to get a picture. And for trying to dig out a phone in the sand is next to impossible. The other benefit of doing this, or having this kind of a strap, you always have it really, really handy. Now, a lot of us will put, the phone in the zipper pocket in our hoodie or whatever, and it just takes a little longer to get. Maybe the picture's gone by then. But if you have it around your neck or really close, that's another advantage of these type of holders. So if you don't have one, strongly suggest, was it 15, 16 bucks? They make a bunch of them. They make jeweled ones. They make every kind imaginable, and they're cheap and very, very useful. This is in Iceland. The boys and I went down into a volcano, 400 feet down to this volcano. And this, you see in the bottom of the picture here, we've got some red ropes. That's called the iPhone drop zone. They've had so many people drop their iPhones from the ride down in this like window washers crane from 400 feet that they don't allow you to stand there anymore because of the iPhones falling. So it's called the iPhone drop zone. So please get one of those straps. So now this is my commitment level. Yes, I pack all this stuff around. Sometimes I don't bring the really big lens, but I love it so much because it's probably the sharpest lens I have. But yeah, this is my basic kit. I've got uh, 14 to 30. I've got a 28 to 70. I've got a 70 to 800. I've got a 400, 4.5. I've got a 400, 2.8, and a 600. So that's and if you'll notice here, I've got an old Rolly that I use too on occasion. So that's my level of commitment. Um, so many of you asked about iPhones on Safari. Well, I was in New York City. There wasn't many animals, but it's funny because I think the iPhones are really coming on strong as far as their telephoto ability. They've always been good at wide angle. In fact, I'll often use two of my camera bodies with long lenses and then keep my phone as my wide angle because I always want a wide angle because you never know when something's going to happen in front of you. But in a couple of years from now, we won't even be talking about this because the phones will be so good that this will be a moot point. But for now, there still are some differences. So if I just crop that picture that you saw earlier, you can see how it just falls apart. It just can't hold. But taken with my iPhone 17, which is another question people have been asking, is should I get an upgrade on my phone? You know, I've got an iPhone 12, I've got an iPhone 14. The answer, yes, absolutely. So many phones, even and I'm not specifically talking about iPhones, but Android phones as well. They have sometimes the changes from the model numbers are um, slight, minor changes, and other times they're really revolutionary. The cameras is where they're making probably the most difference. And with AI, what it can do now, yeah, get yourself, if you're going on Safari, I've had several people ask, please get yourself the latest and greatest phone, whatever platform, Android or Apple that you use. Um, there's also another benefit of getting the latest. It'll have a better battery. See, some people here have very old iPhone, and your battery. I'll get you if you haven't replaced it. I bet you're not going to get near the life out of it that you used to. But I think that
Especially for videos, right? The
yeah,
video
yeah,
take.
videos, everything we do. And now, now when we go on, we get Holofly or an eSIM card, and so we're always using it for finding our way. We're using it for all kinds of stuff. So it's not just for film. But I think that's not acceptable to me. Not the kind of print I would want. But I think for somebody showing off a Safari thing on their laptop, I think these pictures are very acceptable. So. I was in Yellowstone. We had several national park questions yesterday, so I thought I better include one from Yellowstone. This was a grizzly taken with a very long lens. And my pictures, I want to be able to still get up really close, crop very tight, and still have it be sharp. Now, a phone can't do this. They're not there yet. So, and this was again at Yellowstone on the north edge, north entrance. And just coming in really, really close, I still want to be able to see all the knots and all the lines in the trees and stuff. And you would not be able to do that with an iPhone, not yet. And you figure out what percentage of this picture, I mean, that's what, 2% of the total picture, and it's still fairly sharp. One thing to look for when you're trying to figure out if your camera has got enough power as far as the telephoto range, see where it says optical zoom. That's the key here. Optical zoom, 60 times optical zoom. Now, what many phones do is they'll go out to maybe 8 times in optical, which meaning the actual lens is taking the picture. Anything beyond that is digital. It's interpolating the scene. It's not really a true zoom. It's just basically cropping it. So it's not quite as good. But if you're looking for another camera, something with real power, this one's got 60 zoom. What's this one's got 40 zoom. This one's got 600. Yeah, it goes to 125 optical zoom. I mean, the front of this camera just keeps going and going and going. Ideal for safaris and stuff. Just anything past like 800 millimeters, and this will go to 300 or 3000 millimeters, you better hold really still because it's going to be, it magnifies all the problems that you have as well as magnifying the image. I wouldn't go if I had a standard DSLR, I wouldn't go on a safari or birding or anything with anything less than a 300. And you can see that, $300-400. They're still viable. And I found this one used on Craigslist, and this would be a perfect focal length for safaris. Now, one thing about shooting safaris is that I would still always have a wide angle with me because, as you may know, Brooke, and I know many of you know, that sometimes the lions will come up and like smell the Jeep, and you're sitting there with a lens that'll take a picture of his ear, of his left ear, and so you do want those wide. I never go anywhere without a wide angle. Bring or download instruction books. Many of the books now you can download them, so you don't have to actually pack a book around. Never bring new gear on a trip without trying it first. I was an editor at the Academy Awards one year, and for AP, and we had a photographer come in, and he was shooting the red carpet. And he goes, "Yeah, I just got this new lens just now. I'm trying it out." I'm going, and I'm the editor. I'm saying, now's not the time to try it out. You go try it out someplace else. So then I need these pictures. We can't have any screw ups. We can't have any, oh, I wish I'd have known it did this or that. So never bring new gear on a trip without trying it first. And it's so easy because now with digital, you can go ahead and just shoot and shoot and shoot and then erase, erase, erase. So it's no big deal. I get asked a lot, where books and stuff. My favorite books on this all says iPhone, but it can be for any real any platform. But the one on the upper left is by a guy named Scott Kelby. He's very conversational, very smart, and I've given this book to a lot of friends. I strongly suggest it for everyday reading. Just read a chapter, figure something out, or figure out what you need to do, then find it in the book. Don't try to sit and read the whole book like a novel. It isn't. They got a second edition coming out, which means that the cameras have changed so much that he had to do a second edition, which is a good thing. Sunscreen and sea spray and pocket fuzz. Oh my, keep your lens clean. So that is a problem. These smaller cameras, the lenses on them are so small that you get one big goomer on there and it can block the whole lens. Sometimes on some of my bigger cameras have lenses this big, and you can put a spot on it this big and you'll never see it. I like Orvis shirts because they have a built-in glasses cleaner right in the corner. I wish everybody did this. Any glass cleaner will work, any glasses, any microfiber, but I clean when I take my cell phone out, I always take it out of my pocket and I clean the lens immediately. So I use the pre-moistened towelettes here, especially when I'm around salt spray, sunscreen, stuff that you can't, if you use a glass cleaner, it'll just wipe it. It won't actually clean it. So strongly suggest anytime after going on a boat, a cruise, anytime you're near the ocean, I'd pack some of these. They're cheap. They're $50 for $6 or something. So I always have those handy because there are times when you do want to actually clean it and not just dust it off. Paranoia is a good thing. I always bring extra cards. Some cameras allow you to take, you can send the same picture to two cards at the same time, which is really good. Just, you never know. I've never had card failure. Take that back. I've had one that I lost like 6 pictures from a trip to London not too long ago. But I always have backups. And the same with your actual pictures. Now, if you're using your phone, you don't worry about this. Make sure you back up to the cloud. And as soon as you, make sure you have enough space in the cloud. But these things are so small now. The one that says Baker 2 on it is a 2 terabyte, and it's the size of a business card, and maybe about 10 business cards thick. So always have backups. Another tip, if you do have to hand check your camera, not your phone, but if you have to hand check, if you have to gate check your luggage that has your camera in it, take the memory card out, put it in your pocket. So if the camera's ever stolen, you don't lose all your nice pictures. Batteries and power banks. Yeah, the TSA knows how important the spare batteries are, and they keep it with you. Keep them with you, sorry, for you Harvard English majors. I'm a photographer. Um, yeah, the I would always have a battery packs, or like I say, the power banks are reasonable now. And you can't put them in your luggage. That's the whole thing, your check bags. You can keep them in your check on. Another thing that I like, I still use these. You know what they are? They put them in a cigarette lighter and bring cords for your phone, even if you're used to charging it on a MagSafe. If you're in some of the older cars that we get in these days, still have cigarette lighters, and everybody and I have one outlet, and you got four people in the back of the van, all wanting to charge. I'm the only one that can charge in the old cigarette lighter, the old school, and it's very small and light, but very handy to have. Talk about shooting. One of the biggest mistakes see made by so many people, they don't get close enough. I don't know. They want to hold the camera vertically. I get that. But if the subject's horizontal, why hold the camera vertically? Well, it's funny because in the 30s, in the 1930s, they had the same thing. The cameras were made to look down in and hold vertical. So there's all kinds of pictures, verticals there. To hold them in a horizontal was really hard. Kind of the same thing. Everybody shoots verticals because they're easier. Hand the camera to a younger person, they're verticals. Boom. Crop it, get in closer. You want to be close to your subject. Now, this is the coconut guru in Sri Lanka, but you don't want to be that close. You want to show context. That's a 60-year-old man climbing up that thing. No, thank you. With just a little rope around his ankles. Here's Wendy in a paraglider. Okay, that's nice to have. And it looks like she has a mustache. That's actually a microphone across her mouth. But how about context? That's over Masada in Israel. That one really shows how high she was. Get to your scenes early. That's the biggest thing I can say about, these popular landmarks. Really early or really late. We were the first ones here at the Treasury at Petra. I mean, Treasury dog down there in the lower part of the frame, he isn't even awake yet. So that was huge to be able to go there and to be able for the boys to explore and for me to take pictures. Watching the city wake up, getting up, walking around. And the other day they were talking about in Europe, take advantage of the siesta that many countries have. And that's a great idea. And especially for photographers, we want morning light and afternoon light. We don't want that in between noon light. Sunrise on the dunes in Oman. Now, when you have to shoot it in daylight, you have to do it. I mean, we didn't have a choice here in this thing, but I really liked the scene in Oman. I thought it was it's something I'd never seen before. I'd seen terrace farming, but not 3 feet at a time, straight down a cliff.
Where were you when you shot that photo, Tim?
On the other side of the valley,
Okay.
scene setters, Great Barrier Reef. Always sit by a window, even in small planes. That's not hard to do, but I'm a window guy, not an aisle guy, because I love to see the land. But getting there early, you can get a nice picture. Another scene setter, just the clouds and the time of day, the cameras can really do it now too. Now this one I really like, the guy collecting firewood in the desert. I don't know where it comes from, but I don't know how they can have a fire every night, and still there's more firewood there. But as a photojournalist, I'm not supposed to pose anything, and rarely without it, I'm not supposed to pose anything that's supposed to look like it's not posed. So here I am. I think Wendy took this, or one of the boys, me running along, shooting this guy doing his firewood collection. Scene setter, Tahiti. If I write a book about photography, I'd like to call it Time and Timing. you need the timing of that quick shutter finger, right? Or now you can just hold it down and get 20 frames a second. But I'm still a little old school. So that timing of just the decisive moment to me is still my challenge. It's my favorite thing. No, none of these pictures were taken with my phone. Um, so the timing is key, is totally key. But so is time. You need time to take, time to go and hang out at a reservoir where the ospreys are feeding. In this case, it's a simple photo, but this is a hotel we stayed at in Portugal. There was an old dairy farm turned into a fancy hotel. I could see slowly how the sun was coming through the shadows, and I had to wait like 15 minutes, but not a great shot, but it paid off anyways. Just wait, wait, wait. It's the timing. This is a case when we were in Bali where we waited until the tour buses left, and we had time, and we just kind of waited, and everybody's gathered around there, and everybody else has got pictures where there's people all in the background and they're stopped. And no, we just wait and wait and wait, and then be quick. Be opportunistic. Keep your eyes and minds open. I've seen this happen in professionals. They're assigned to one thing, and that's all they think about. They don't. I've seen it at football games where guys will be there to shoot football. I'll see something funny happening on the side of the stadium, and nobody's shooting it. And they're all agree, oh, that's funny, but nobody's shooting it because they're there to shoot football. The orangutans, when November, when we were in Indonesia, in Kalimantan, Borneo, that was great. We loved it. We just loved, loved, loved watching these guys. They just are as funny as can be, and just it was very, very special. And Brooke, I'm very jealous of you. We had orangutans in the rain. You had gorillas in the mist. So I'm very jealous of that.
Well, I would happily swap and get to see those.
Yeah, now we'll swap.
Yeah.
But besides that going on, there was also the other animals in the area. I think this is my new spirit animal, proboscis monkey. But then there was this grouse of some sort came walking by where they were feeding, and everybody's so busy, so focused in on the orangutans, and that they didn't look beyond that and seeing what was around in very near to that, especially for you birders. Green tree viper just was right in the, not it's probably 30 yards from where the orangutans were. What is the verb? I can tell you if you read me the caption of a picture in a newspaper, I can tell you if the picture is any good or not based on what the verb is. Stands, sits, points are not good verbs. Kills, attacks. That's a good verb. That was in England, in Bath. We were by the Crescent, I guess, was this group of houses, and all of a sudden this hawk attacked this bird. It's got some action to it. The picture's got action. Look at a cormorant devours a catfish. A woman screams on a roller coaster. Now, this was actually our Christmas card one year. I sat in front of them. I think this is Thunder Mountain at Disneyland. But I actually had to take the picture upside down because I didn't want to put my camera up. I had to keep the strap on because I didn't want to lose grip of the camera and have them go back and take out Wendy's teeth. So I held the camera very close here, and I didn't want to get in trouble from the people, at Disneyland because I don't think you're supposed to do that. So I had to hold my camera like this upside down and shoot it, and got a fun picture. But these are very active verbs. Here you got just a little bit of sand spray of Doug in Oman. That's a yawn, believe it or not. She's not yelling. She's actually just yawning. Showed that to my niece, who's a dentist. She wants to put that in her office. Bashes. That's called sand bashing. It's got a good strong verb. That means it usually means it's a pretty good picture. This one I don't know. I think it's bashed, past tense. But it gets me to the point of action and reaction. Here's the action. And here's the reaction. Try to get the reaction as well as the action. Here are the boys, and this is their yeah, perfume ad, right, Brooke? Is that what you called this? Their perfume ad?
Yeah.
The top of a mountain, and I don't know why they did this. And we get up to the top, and there's a guy selling Pabst Blue Ribbon beer on top of a sand dune in Oman for nothing else for miles. I thought that was very funny. But then the boys had a race coming down. I think Doug won this one. Charlie did not. And we saw the action. Here's the reaction. Check times. Okay, good. Pictures can have some blur in them. If it's action, go ahead. It can have a little bit of blur. Look at, don't throw this out. Oh, it's blurry. No, it's supposed to be. It's an action photo. Here are the boys at the teacups at Disneyland. And I don't know the last time you went to the teacups at Disneyland, but that's looks like pretty much it. I was asked about building pictures. Believe it or not, I use this picture as an example. A lot of times when we lived in the city, we had a structural photographer that lived on the same floor, and I'd be coming out of the elevator, and he'd be racing out and say, "Where are you going?" He says, "Oh, I heard the clouds are good today." So he based his building photography on the clouds. So on a good cloud day, he could go out and shoot, and if there was an empty day, he wouldn't. So that's what makes it. Just watch the clouds. The clouds are what's going to make it. This is Lizard Island in Australia on the Great Barrier Reef. Just thought that was kind of a pretty one. Panoramas, don't we love panoramas? The Tetons outside of Yellowstone. I love to use panorama on the iPhones or any of the phones. St. John's Co-Cathedral in Malta. The trick to using your panorama is go very slowly and follow that line, that there's that horizontal line in there. Follow it best you can. Now, what people don't think about sometimes is you can use it vertically. Like I love the floors as much as the ceilings. So I did the same thing and just held the camera this way and got that shot. This is a funny picture. I don't know, some of you, Brooke, I don't know if you know this trick. You seen this trick done?
What trick? That's your twin brother.
That's my twin brother. So many people believe me. Cappy, our helicopter pilot in New Zealand, she's the one that showed me this trick where you can see a little line between Wendy and Charlie. I can't show you because I can't see what you see. But she had me as soon as she said, "Now," I ran around the back of her, took off my shirt, and then filled in around Doug by the time she got there. So just kind of a fun thing to try. We got those wide things, but we also need close-ups. This is a red coral beach off near Komodo Island in Indonesia. This is one of my favorites because this part of the lesson. So this was in Oslo for Wendy's summit, and the sun's clearly set, and all these people are almost silhouetted. There's a little bit of light coming from maybe a floodlight or something, but that's what I was able to do of Corinne from Hippo Creek Safaris with a $15 little light. They're so light, you can keep them in your pocket, your camera bag, whatever. And I don't use a flash. I think never use the flash on your iPhone. They stink, and Android might be a little better. I don't know for sure, but they aren't very good. $15, and it's just I in fact the rest of the thing I used it as a flash. I just had it on, and then instead of a flash, I use this. It's not gonna go out 800 feet, but will go out 8 feet for sure. Luck favors the prepared. Sometimes in photography, it's better to be lucky than good. I got a kick out of this. Was in Uzbekistan. Our camel was eating squash that we were supposed to have for dinner when the cook came out, gave it heck. It's a simple picture, but just how often do you see a guy that outstanding in his field? Here we are at Paris. They just happen to have this folk group. I thought that was kind of fun, a little different, you know. I look for art's sake. Thank you for putting out all your blue things on against the red tiles of Dubrovnik. This one I happen to have my longest lens on the camera. As Wendy and I were walking in Cumberland Island, and I saw the little doe there, and I started taking a picture, and all of a sudden this white, they call it a piebald, but it's not truly an albino, but a piebald deer came out, and so this was my Christmas present to all my little nieces, the niece's kids. I said, yeah, this is the first cousin to a unicorn.
Mhm.
And sometimes you get lucky, not necessarily with the pictures, but with the events. We're in Uzbekistan, and we just happened to be walking by this event palace. We had no idea what it was, and we just kind of walked slowly by and listening to the music. And so we get there and we see the sign there on the lower right. Was it Narvaz, Samir? We didn't know him that happy birthday, Grandpa, for all we knew. And so we were actually invited in. And here's Charlie taking their local alcohol like a trooper at 16. I'm questioning that, and Doug and laughing and everything. And what we found out later, we were treated like the prized guests of all. We weren't dressed for it or anything. We later found out it was a circumcision party for these three boys. They celebrate that. So yeah, it was just one of those bizarre lucky things. Foreground frame. This tip has been in every photographic lesson since the 1850s, and probably before that for artists. Um, that adds a little bit of interest to it directs your eye towards the middle to the boat.
What do you mean, Tim, by the foreground frame?
See how the fern up top is like framing the subject,
Mhm.
and you'll see it more here. We'll have several more examples. And the archway here in Dubrovnik, at one of the watchtowers. Picture like this gets back to that time and timing. I probably waited 10 minutes for all the tourists to be at a spot where they quickly backed off and I could take a few frames. Now, of course, you can do that with AI. You can say, I don't want this guy. And there's a couple of keystrokes, but I'm still old school. I don't do that. I don't Photoshop and change and rearrange things in my pictures. That's just me. I've been shooting this way my whole life. I'm not going to change. So see, so the actually the my our window is actually framing the scene. The archway is framing this is Castle in Romania, and the tree in Cumberland Island. And here the woman is kind of a frame silhouette, a pretty sunset. Micro movements, major payoffs. Once again, when I take pictures, as a photojournalist, I'm not allowed to remove anything. I can't. In fact, the contest that we enter, they want to see the original file to make sure you didn't cheat on it. So in this picture here on the far left, we got a fire hydrant, telephone pole, and a telephone pole in the center of the frame, right above the thing. I moved 3 inches and missed them all just by literally moving the camera 3 inches and being aware I do not want those in there.
Tim, going back to we got a question about the
Yeah,
foreground frame.
yeah.
How do you get the objects both near and far to be clear?
It, you know, it, Usually you're with the wide lenses, and the wide lenses do a much better job than that in the telephotos. Um, Apple's algorithms favors the shutter speed over the aperture. The smaller the aperture, the wider the lens, the more in front of and behind what you focus on will be sharp. And 9 times out of 10, when you're doing foreground frame, you're in a wide camera position. And so therefore, because the wide, more things are in front of and behind what you really focus on will be sharp. That make sense?
I hope so. I hope so, Linda.
Sorry. We're talking depth of field here, yeah. So back here. Yeah, this is not a very impressive photo, but just the fact that, I raised the camera up an inch or two, just tipped it up a little bit. And, you don't have to look through the cameras anymore, just about. You can hold them down at your knees and and it cleaned it up a little bit. Not that I'll just be aware of it when you're out there. Move the camera around, just instead of shooting from above, shoot from below. There's, this case where I raised the camera really high so I could get get the scene of the sin. And as we were taking that picture, this older gentleman came by and wanted to take a family picture of us. So, we said, yeah, absolutely. He was so cute. What I did was I focused the camera. I framed it like I wanted it. He couldn't put his hands over his head, but I focused the camera like I wanted. I put the focus point. When you look through your camera, there's that little yellow box. I showed him, I put that on Wendy. And so when I ran around, I had all set the camera up and I just had him take the picture. So if you set the camera up rather than just give it to somebody and getting a horizontal of this scene, which we didn't want, we don't care about footwear. I showed him specifically, okay, put this yellow box, put this yellow box on her. So that's one way to get better photos when somebody's offering to take a group photo. Otherwise, you get three out of the four of you. No single piece of people. We're all different, you know. Here are some of my tips. Go where the subject is distracted. Now, to me, that means markets, sporting events, dances, festivals, right? That they're not just looking at you. I use my phone for these and not my good camera, not my big fancy Nikons, because it's not intimidating. They have the phone. They take pictures of their friends. So, it's no big deal. iPhones are everywhere. Camera phones are everywhere. Work quickly. If you see something, just quick, be ready to shoot it. Don't waste their time or, I got to fix this or let me get my camera out. If you have your camera on that strap, it's already around your neck. Boom, bang, get it done quickly. Give a smile, you might get one back. That's the way I just try to, I have this probably too low in the thing, but, treat them as you want to be treated. Spend time at a location so they get used to you. I've got a whole series of pictures I did of a market in Athens. And I went back like 2, 3 days, and finally they just got used to seeing me there and was accepted. Because, oh yeah, that's the guy that comes by every day. You can't do that all the time. Explain to them why you want your picture. Oh, the light on you right now is so nice, and you can see how the light's coming down, hitting this for blah blah blah. Explain why you want their picture. Offer to share the picture. Now we can just airdrop. Boom, boom, boom. I do that all the time. Now, pay them. Do you pay them? Try not to. Some people want it ahead of time. And if that's the case, what I do is I always have a pocket, and laugh at my cargo shorts if you will, but I always have a pocket where I have got small denominations of bills. And uh, uh, I just make sure I only have like $1 there rather than opening up a wallet and having, 3 50s and a 20 in there. I'll have $1 or something, the dollar equivalent. So we'll go through these. Some people like having their picture taken. Festivals are great places. Anybody in costume wants to have their picture taken. Some people don't. You work quickly. If you got a mouthful of gold teeth, you don't mind showing that off. That's status. This guy just hung out at this spot and didn't want money, didn't want anything. I think he just likes to visit with tourists. Candid, shoot quickly. Rabbi in Uzbekistan. Kids, kids are easy. Although some people didn't think so. Kids you're a big deal when you first get there, but after 10 minutes or so, they want to go back and play out in the playground. Well, then get them out in the playground. And I'm sure that almost every travel expert in Wendy's crew can get you into a school and spend time in a school, bring some books. I bring those plastic rings. A lot of times like in Tahiti, kids will run up, hey, take my picture. I do. Okay. It's in Portugal at a Mardi Gras. Yeah, this guy just hangs out at this cave. He wants his picture taken. This was a hard one because we were there. He was performing a marriage ceremony for us, and so I didn't want to be disrespectful and make it a photo session. So I didn't do as I didn't. I got caught up in being the subject and not the actual um, photographer. These women in Sri Lanka, the tea tea picking, were just absolutely delightful. They just loved having their picture taken. So it's all different. I thought was just so cute. And she kept smiling. Like, she wanted me to take her picture, so I was happy to do it. You know, these are our crew on our river trip in Borneo. They're people too, and they're used to tourists. Guy at a museum in Uzbekistan. And the bride and grooms, they rent their wedding clothes. And I saw a photographer out there working, so when he backed off, I just stepped in. Now, again, getting them where they're not paying any attention to you. I love it. I love this market in Tashkent because I could be on a mezzanine with the longer lenses, and I think as far as daily life, you can't beat a market. Sometimes, when you're shooting kind of blind, you don't get to frame the picture. You're just trying to be as quick as you can and as inconspicuous as you can. I'm a 6 foot, 200 pound American redheaded guy, used to be anyways. And, I can't blend in. I'm sorry, I can't blend in, but I can try a little bit. There's an Oman fish market. Not great pictures, but I mean, they're good storytellers. Market in Uzbekistan. They didn't allow me to take pictures, said there were no pictures allowed, so I had to shoot from the hip. I don't listen to them when they tell me that. Market in Bali. So there's servers on the kitchen help on our boat. Yeah, go down, they're people on a river trip. This was the guy in charge of the canals. Craftspeople, they're happy to show off their works. Love this guy. This is a copper pot we had him make for us, actually. Took him about an hour, and we watched the whole process. It was great. And that was in Romania, Portugal. Yeah, it's just how you approach most people. This head of the water sports on Wendy's ship. And this woman here we were in New Zealand Christmas a couple of years ago, and she was there doing her lifeguard duty. I thought, geez, look at the light on her. It's just perfect. I told her, I said, hey, this is a great shot. Flory on Wendy's staff. I liked it because she's not looking at the camera. Not everybody has to look at the camera. Halloween. Now, this one we're going to talk about. I want you to look at the background here and here. Can you see that subtle difference?
Yeah.
That's using your camera on portrait mode. I always shoot on portrait mode when I can. Okay, here's one of my niece's daughters. See how the background is blurred. The cameras have even both cameras, all cameras have a portrait mode. This allows you to shoot. So this is with the portrait mode off. Look at the background. And you can adjust accordingly. You can get a little bit of blur or you can get a lot of blur, all with the picture you've already taken. So I can't stress that enough. If you have time, use portrait mode. Groups, yeah. Best thing to do group is get you be taller than they are. Or what really works well is if the men in the back had stood on this little riser in the back. But if you taller than they are, you got a better chance of seeing everybody. This is another one of those timing things. This is Wendy in Tahiti. And everybody else, quick jump to get in the picture with everybody. And it was all a big kerfuffle and they're gathered around, they're in the way and everything. And if you just wait long enough, they'll let you do it. School in Bali. And then we go. The jump pictures now have made a resurgence. I think it was Felipe Halsman that did it in the 60s. And now everybody jumps. The edit, you got the shot, now make it better. Like some of the pictures don't need help. That's okay as it is. This is how my camera sees very softly, very neutral, but with a little bit of work in a photo processing program, you can make it sing. And I don't say make it sing, make it bilious. I rarely use the saturation slider in any program, but that's closer to what the scene actually was. As friends, you know, that can easily be salvaged. And at the same time, I also straightened it up. Abu Dhabi, Grand Mosque. I tried to figure this one out, Dubai, and I played with it a little bit, and I don't like the yellow color. I mean, to me, this is more of a summer day in Dubai. My friend Kurt just got back from South Africa, and he showed me his picture, and I said, let me have a quick look at him. So I just put him through a quick editing process, and they just made that really shine. Maybe a little too much. Brooke, you were there. Here you are. And what was his name? Michael Crummy is his name? The
Yep,
author there at the right?
that's right.
Yeah. This we see this scene a lot, guys, where we get bright background and then the subjects are in the shadows. Now, getting the proper editing program and 30 years of experience, I was able to make it better, but still not good. Maybe, soon they're going to come out with AI that'll be able to do it in a flash and you won't even know the difference. But for now, if you can, try to find some forward light going at the people if you've got a strong backlit subject. Cropping, finding the picture in the picture. You already have the photo, just spend a little time with it. You can make it better. We don't need every knee and everything. Just a little crop.
Does that mean always shoot wider than you think you need?
No, shoot what you think you need, and then when you're looking at the picture, say, okay, now can I cut it in? Now here's a case where, I cut down to just Wendy and the boys. But then I thought, no, these people are supporting that. I don't need to cut it. Here we have this wide angle picture, and of course, whatever's closest to the lens is going to look a little bigger. There, still got the wide angle. We just don't make it so much about knees. Kurt took this one in South Africa, and I wondered about that zebra on the left, and I'm very curious about the way he was standing or she was standing. It looks like they're ready to relieve themselves or just did. So I said, well, let's try to crop that out. And then I took it one step further and just cropped to these two. But it's all personal. It's all personal. This one bugs me because I haven't even figured out how I want to crop this one yet. I waited a half hour for those cats to be in the right position. I did not add them via AI, but I've played with this so many times and I haven't decided which is my favorite yet. On any given day, I could be different. Now, what's in the background here on the left? Brooke, are those your leggings or
They could
towel?
be.
Yeah. So a simple crop. We still see the conch, we still see everything about it, but we don't see the dirty laundry hanging up. Same here with this picture, but here's the difference. Here we don't have to crop because look, there's nothing wrong with that background. There's not a bunch of towels and drying shirts or anything. Zambia. Now when I crop this, look what I cropped out. I cropped out a little of that and that. You got that. So Yellowstone, I could crop this out. I already did. This is the subject. You can hide how many acres of grass in the foreground do you need and how many trees in the background do you need? This is the animals were the subject. Same here. I thought this was pretty funny. Sharing his stuff. Now, if you wanted to print of this, if you wanted to put print for your wall, go ahead and make this print. You're going to have a lot of wasted space on both sides. Bring it to a frame store. Have a mat maker cut the mat to fit the frame. Not all the pictures have to be 4x6 or 2x3. Sometimes a picture just isn't. Shoot a lot, show a few. Everybody will think you're an amazing photographer. That's the truth. Yeah, but which ones? There's Charlie in a mountain lake in New Zealand. But this was probably the real one because he's freezing his tail off up there. It's all mountain Fred. Black and white, the home, you see these all the time at the Pottery Barn and Target. You go into their frame section, it's all these black and whites. That's the obvious one. Oops, let's see what I got here. Did I press wrong? There we go. New Zealand, Queenstown. I have a whole series on the arch that I shot. I just love the arch. It's just Cumberland Island, Georgia. Again, New Zealand.
Tim, we got a question about nighttime shots. Do you have any?
Yeah, we're coming to that. Well,
Okay,
food.
great.
Let's get the food, and then I'll be right to the like.
We got a question about that as well.
Yep, good. Okay. Reindeer meat in Oslo. Now, it was too close to Christmas, and I play Santa for the preschool at Christmas. I just could not eat the reindeer. I'm sorry. That was just, I could eat it today. I just couldn't eat it that close to Christmas. But this is what it looked like on the plate. Add a little light. Now, you can use this again, which is, you should, if you're a food photographer, always take this. And
Tim,
then
could you say the name of that again? Someone was asking.
Yeah, I can show the slide again. I think this one's called Small Rig. But you can search just put any small portable light in Google and move it around and experiment to what you think the food looks best. Sometimes you will shine more or less, get it lower, get it higher. Now, the other thing is borrow somebody else at the table's cell phone and use this. This is, brother, have you got a light, right? You can use this to backlit things. You can use this. Use it all the time. So that's just one thought. Just ask somebody next to you saying, hey, can I borrow your light? This is what Bobby Flays calls the best cake in America at Plantation Inn in Charleston. This was in Dubai. That's a schnitzel. So there's so many people that like food pictures. And one of the problems that I don't know about Android, but the Apple has very low, it has very low, it only focuses on one thing and not in front of it or behind it very well. So if you shoot straight down like this meal in Uzbekistan, you're going to get better pictures.
Is better light the biggest tip for food photography?
Better light is, yeah. You got to make it look appetizing. You saw the difference between the reindeer steaks. I like to show foods in the situation. Here's Romania, the lady serving lunch, bringing us. Now, what's funny is that I took this picture because if you notice, so many restaurants have these little portable lights now that you can move the lights around and light up the pictures as you want them. So I'm not afraid to remodel or just use their lights for that. Sundowners. And this was a restaurant that we ate at in France. And I noticed the mezzanine. So I went up there and I thought, oh, well, that's a interesting shot. Hold still and don't fear the dark. That's the main thing. Here we go to dark. You've got to hold still. Lean up on something. Hold your camera. Don't hold it out here. Hold it in close to you. Take a breath. But these cameras now just do amazing, amazing jobs. The bridge of size in front of us. Uzbekistan. Yeah, the cameras now just do it blows me away how good they are. That's the Museum of the Future in Dubai.
These were all taken on your iPhone?
It's about half and half. But the iPhone now is superior than some of these pictures are older when they wasn't quite so superior. Like these are taking my regular camera. This is the Rajasthan. They were having a light show and a big TV. It was a dress rehearsal for a big TV show. So they kept changing the lights. It was really quite an experience. Don't go too late if you can. Dusk, you get that nice blue light in the background. It's Cumberland Island Inn. The Chetty in Oman. These are all iPhones. This is a light show in a park or an installation in New Zealand, New Plymouth, New Zealand. Yeah, just I'm blown away by how good these cameras are in low light. In fact, I even went on a night bird watching. Well, all we did was use the lights were my flashlights on the birds, the resting birds. This picture was taken by moonlight, believe it or not. This picture was taken during probably a full moon. Light is light. And this one, yeah, it looks pretty bad, but you see that light coming in on the side there, that line. We were up camping and I saw this. It just stayed there. It was this big white light that just like a neon tube that would just stay there, it did not move. And come to find out it was a Starlink launch. But it's not a great photo, but it was sure neat to show people what the Starlink launch looked like. And Brooke, I think you were here for this picture.
That's right.
The camera is so good, it could see the Northern Lights when we couldn't. We could barely see it, and I didn't get in and edit this. Now, I did hold very still, and if you see in the foreground there's a little lamp post. I was on the one back here. I rest my camera on that. I do not travel with a tripod. I travel with too much other crap, and I'll always find a place to hold, get my elbows down, hold the camera, set the camera on the post, and gently hit the shutter. Picture stories. I know I got to speed up here, huh? Oh boy, I'm way late. Okay. Should have been prodding me there, Brooke. This is
I
in
don't know how long the
Oman,
presentation is.
rock climbing the boys. I'll go through these. Fez, where they take care of the leather. Another good people shot. You just have to be very quick and just kind of doing this as you're walking by. Fly fishing in Alaska with my brothers. We had quite a hike in after a plane ride, and we found them. And here we are. I didn't really shoot. This is the ending shot. I didn't really take the picture of us having a drink at the bar. Don't tell me, show me. Here's a camel on the motorway. I mean, what's a camel doing on the motorway? How high was it to get from the boat to the stairs? Yes, very. Oh, trying to figure out the trains in Bucharest. That's quite a schedule. The the ambulance had to take a ferry from island to island. How busy was the Grand Bazaar? Hobbled horses together, Morocco. How close did the canal boat in France, how close was it to the edge of the canal? You can say, well, it was about 3 or 4 inches, or you can just show them. This was like the sketchiest stairway we've ever climbed, or ladder we've ever climbed. We were just very happy it held some Romania. The fruit bats outside our hotel in Sri Lanka. Woman carrying. This was a concert we went to. It started to rain and they moved everybody inside the barn. It was so cool. Or be that close to a real international, quality concert. Ferris wheel inside a salt mine. Yep, they have them. There's the boys at Graffiti Alley. And that was our Christmas card one year. So you don't show the yurts, but how often do you get to see the inside of what they look like? Don't be afraid to do that. People want to know that stuff. Be bold. Have some fun. Doesn't cost anything. Shoot into the sun. Don't hide from the sun. Shoot into it. From the air, this is Salt Flat. Venice floods. I love the ceilings in Uzbekistan. Yeah, sorry, I got to go through these so quickly now. Water everywhere. This is kind of get yourself, if you're going to be on any kind of cruise, any kind of the Belize or Galapagos or wherever, buy yourself one of these, they say waterproof cases. I'm not 100% sure I'd take them to 20 feet, but keep them, you're going to keep your cameras safe and it's not much. I was able to take this picture with one rafting in Bali. And to me, this is the Bali scene that I wanted right here. So they do a pretty fair job. And I was able to like swim to this sandbar with the camera, then take the camera out once we were at the sandbar. If you're going to go to Galapagos or someplace where you're going to do a lot of snorkeling, get a GoPro. You know, if you're going to spend a lot of time underwater, they just are, you know, they're so good, and they're okay on land too. That's one of my favorite pictures because that was our first dive together when we were all three were certified. Oh, and this one, let's see if it'll open. Nope, it's not going to open. Oh, yeah, okay. That is a disco clam. I'd never even heard of one before, and now here's a disco clam. Thought that was so cool. Collect something. I collect worlds. Anytime I see something called world, I collect it. This is in London, Portugal, crazy world. I've got 600 different worlds. I also collect airport markings on the ground markings. That's just kind of fun. I look out the window and love the abstract. I collect things I find smushed on the road. Pizza in Charleston. And that if that wasn't enough, I use an old Rolly, the 1960 Rolly 28, and I've been enjoying taking pictures one at a time. It's been kind of fun. People like having their picture taken with the old camera too. First, shoot the room. It won't look that good again until after you're gone. Yeah, that's my job. When we go into a nice hotel, is Wendy wants a record of what the room looked like. And before we touch anything, I go in and kind of I get pictures. The frame grab. You know, after you have to shoot video a lot of times, but you can actually make a reasonable frame grab off the video. This is me jumping off the ship in Indonesia, showing the young kids they jump from way lower. We're in 90 feet of water. Here's Wendy with some monkeys visiting. That's all on video. Our son Doug is a keyboard and pianist, and so we always have to shoot video of him. And he's in a rock band with his keytar. But you frame grab, frame grab. So all frame grabs. That's a frame grab from the US Open. So I shot video and just pulled one frame out of it. This is the junk drawer. This is a map of where I use my camera to take pictures, use especially the phone, take pictures of signs, so I have a record of it. So maps where we were, explainers of all kinds. I don't have to sit there and read the whole sign, and I can go back to it. And we take pictures whenever we buy souvenirs. Doug bought this souvenir for a friend, and so we gave the picture along with it to say, hey, we didn't buy it at the airport in New York. We always take pictures of wherever. I always take pictures of our bags and the tags. So that way that you've got it at any time. So sometimes we still have to buy the photos. You know, here's Charlie and I on the Sydney Bridge climb. They don't allow you to bring phones, cameras, anything. So, you know, occasionally got to buy something. It's Wendy and I in New Zealand. Some of the picture quality is not the greatest, but it's okay. This picture here, that's me in the upper right. Picture on the upper right, they're holding the camera. I ran the bulls. I was photographing them for 4 days, and I said, I got to run it. And as I was running it, I took this picture here. And then I noticed my picture was hanging up in a photo finishing lab, and it was for sale. So I bought that, and there's the exact moment that they took that picture. This was a goofy thing. This is supposed to be Vlad the Impaler, Dracula's house where he was born. Cost us $1 to find out how stupid that was, but it pretty funny. Krispy Kremes in Arabic. I mean, how many onions can you fit in a car? That should be love that. That was down to the chunks. Oh, and here's Wendy petting a Komodo dragon. This was actually taken with a long lens. She's not that close to it, but it gave the impression she is. It was a kid at Mardi Gras in Torres Vedras in Portugal. Yeah, that's the VIP lounge in Zambia at the small airport. I got a kick out of that. And my favorite,